In 1945, at the end of World War II, Germany was divided into 4 zones controlled by the Allies: the United States, the Soviet Union, Great Britain, and France. The capital city of Berlin, located in the Soviet zone, was also divided into 4 sectors. In 1948, the Soviets tried to force the Western Allies out of Berlin by blocking all roads, railways, and waterways to the city. They hoped to starve the people and make them surrender, but the Western Allies responded by flying in supplies to their sectors of Berlin. This operation, known as the Berlin Airlift, lasted for more than a year and delivered more than 2 million tons of food, fuel, and other goods. The Soviets eventually lifted the blockade in 1949. Later in 1949, the Western Allies merged their zones of Germany and formed a democratic West Germany, which joined the Western Bloc. The Soviets followed and formed a communist East Germany, which in turn became a member of the Eastern Bloc. Unrest was high in East Germany, though. Throughout the 50s, many people in East Germany were unhappy with the oppressive and poor conditions under the communist regime. They wanted more freedom and opportunities, so they looked to the West. Millions fled to West Germany, especially through Berlin, many of whom were young, skilled workers. As a result, the East German government, with the support of the Soviet Union, began construction of the Berlin Wall in 1961 to prevent East Germans from fleeing to the West. The wall became a physical manifestation of the Cold War, separating families and friends. Over the years, attempts to escape over the wall led to tragic consequences, with many losing their lives in pursuit of freedom. The wall also became a symbol of oppression and division, with the West calling for its removal.
This generation of Germans has earned the right to be free, including the right to unite their families and their nation in lasting peace. I take pride in the word, Ich bin ein Berliner.
In the 1980s, things started looking brighter. The new Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, with this cool stain on his head, introduced reforms to make the communist system more open and democratic and to reduce Soviet interference in the affairs of its allies. This encouraged the people in the Eastern Bloc to demand more freedom and rights from their own governments. And finally, after months of protests and pressure from the international community, the East German government announced that travel restrictions would be lifted. Günter Schabowski, a member of the East German government, made a mistake in this announcement, though. He was asked when this would take effect, and he said, "As far as I know, effective immediately, without delay." He didn't know that he was supposed to say that the regulations would start the next day, and that there would be a procedure for applying for visas. The people rushed to the wall and gathered at the checkpoints. While the guards were confused and overwhelmed, they didn't want to use force. So on November 9th, 1989, more than 28 years after the wall's construction, the Berlin Wall fell, marking the end of an era and the reunification of Germany. In 1990, Germany was officially reunited.